What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp of Wrestling Inc. and the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Here with a very familiar guest to our listeners. You'll know him as Shane Helms, Gregory Helms, the Hurricane. What do you want us to call you?
You can call me whatever, man. Helms, Hurricane, Sugar Shane.
The Hurricane. The Hurricane Gregory Shane Helms is what everybody should have to call you. They should have to refer to all of your successes.
Yeah, it's kind of like that last quote of the movie Hurricane with Denzel, and at the end he goes, "I'll always be the Hurricane." There's a little bit of me in that, so.
That's something I always thought was kind of interesting about your career, is that you have always been the same guy, the same character. You've never, switched, like Mean Mark Callis is not The Undertaker. But Gregory Helms, Shane Helms, and Hurricane have all been the same guy, but have distinct different personalities. Is that something that you were conscious in doing and wanted to make sure that you differentiated the three?
Oh, yeah, I was very conscious of that, especially going from the Hurricane to Gregory Helms. Becoming Hurricane from Sugar Shane, that was something that kind of happened organically, because I tried to, when I was Sugar Shane, I was pretty much one of the best light heavyweights around, and I had that hybrid style that is so commonplace today, but it was pretty new back then. And but when I would wrestle that style as the Hurricane, the character would get lost, and there was a disconnect there, because the Hurricane, my character wasn't that I was a superhero. I'm a guy who thought he was a superhero. And there's a difference there. And if you're a guy who thinks you're a superhero, now you got to be a little off kilter upstairs. So I can't go out, when I went out there and I would wrestle like Sugar Shane and have these, really 1,000 moves in every match type matches, it would kind of disconnect from who the Hurricane was, and it didn't really fit the gimmick. So I kind of had to change my style and get even more character into the stuff I was doing, and that's actually what made the Hurricane work. So now fast forward, I become Gregory Helms, and I got to be this ass-kicking wrestler again. And it was real funny. One of the strangest compliments I ever got was, a couple of weeks into my Gregory Helms run, Arn Anderson comes up, and he's like, "Damn, kid, I forgot how good you were." And I was like, "Yeah, thanks, Arn." And then I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" And it was because as the Hurricane, I almost had to wrestle down to a degree for that character to work. I had to do that. But and that's a strange thing for people to understand, but I look at it like Tom Hanks, the same Tom Hanks that was in Philadelphia, that's the same Tom Hanks that was in Big, or the Fast Forward, it's the same guy, but you have to act differently to make these characters work. I can't go out there and wrestle exactly the same as I did with Gregory Helms or Sugar Shane. If I wrestle like that as a Hurricane, it just would not have worked, not as well as it did.
Not only did you switch your personalities up, but your in-ring style between the three, it would switch between like a high-flying acrobatic to a very entertainment-based to sort of almost a ground and pound. Like it was really cool how you switched between the three seamlessly and have kind of continued to do so even since you left WWE. Now, when I got to the Gregory Helms thing, I definitely tried to take out a lot of the high-flying thing. But that was intentional because I wanted to get to an old school heel approach where I didn't want people to cheer me. And that's the biggest lost thing in the business today is heels that, get actually booed and nobody's cheering them. And that's what I was going for. I didn't want merchandise. I actually had conversations and had to have a conversation with Vince about it, about what I was trying to do, because that was going to cost me merchandise money. But my thought process was that if people are buying my merch, then I'm not getting over as a heel. And I wanted people to absolutely hate me. And he took care of me on the pay-per-view side as far as my pay-per-view checks. That kind of compensated what I lost in merchandise revenue from what the Hurricane was. But I wanted people to hate me. Now, if I was wrestling somebody like Jimmy Yang who could do a ton of high-flying things, I would do some stuff, go up top here and there, because I knew Jimmy could counter me, with even higher stuff. But if I was in there with somebody like Nunzio or Jamie Noble who didn't really have a high-flying style, I would definitely bring my style, keep it on the ground as much as I could. But that was all intentional. That was all intentional. Now, I don't want to be the type of person to throw out accusations, Shane. But I think you're on PED. I think you're on PEDs because you beat me in fantasy football 2 years in a row. You're a dirty cheater. I'm exposing you. I know you're taking some weird tainted supplements or something like that. What do you have to say? I know that everybody is worried about this.
I think the pterodactyls own you in fantasy football. And actually, the fact that I had even a decent season this year at all is remarkable. I lost my quarterback and both my running backs due to injuries. So and actually pretty much probably 50% of my starting lineup from draft day I lost before the year was over, including my quarterback and running back. So I actually had it pretty tough this year. But you're a jobber, kid. So that's basically what happened now.
I just want to say that ESPN scoring sucks, and Jim Nilsson, our friend Jim Nilsson, needs to fix that. And that's where we'll leave that. But you started with TNA last year. I remember speaking to Matt Hardy ahead of Bound for Glory, and he talked about how well you were doing in TNA and how everybody embraced you. Well, what's that process been like, and how were you approached to join TNA?
I think they were looking for new agents, and I think Matt was the first guy to mention my name. And then through other people, my name got mentioned by other people as well, and it was a name that was being brought up gradually, and I'm not quite certain exactly, how that happened, to be honest. I'm glad it did. I've been agenting all the Omega shows that we've done, and I agent every match on those shows. And so the guys on that show, some of the guys that have worked with me and stuff like that, and I agented a little bit in WWE, like a couple of dark matches here and there, and I would always help guys go to them after the match, and not just, lower card or mid card, or, I would go to anybody if I had something I thought would help them. And I guess I just got that reputation for kind of like, helping people and being very, generous with it, not accepting anything in return or not wanting anything in return. But it actually went pretty well. It went way better than I thought it was going to be, because I've never been an official agent. And so I didn't really know how it was going to work out for me, but it's worked out really great, and I'm extremely happy doing what I'm doing.
I saw that you had to do the share a shuffle, though. Were you happy about that?
Actually, that was pretty funny when that got over, because that was one of the weeks, because I would constantly read on certain websites how morale was bad in TNA. And so that was one of the things that, I was concerned with going down there, because I've always been able to keep the locker room laughing. I'm just one of those guys. I try to keep things upbeat. If somebody's down, I'm generally one of the Dr. Phils of the locker room. I'll go talk to them, defuse situations, put out fires. I like a locker room to be happy. I think a happy locker room will put out a better performance, And so I would read things about bad morale, and I go down there, and like everybody's just having a blast. And I really went out of my way to like tweet things like, "Hey, wow, the morale is so terrible here." It's I hate having so much fun. And that was one of the things too. When he's a very young guy, but he's trying really hard, and one of the nicest human beings I think I've ever met on the planet. Constantly smiling, and and when finally he got the crowd to do that shuffle, like just the whole backstage erupted. It was it was something small, it was nothing, it wasn't Steamboat and Savage by any stretch of the imagination in terms of impact on the industry. But him getting that crowd popping and the whole backstage was popping, it was a good moment. And so everybody kind of just was having fun doing that dance. So I didn't mind doing it. I looked like a tub of shit at that particular time. It's still post knee surgery weight was it was definitely showing, but I did the shuffle as best I could.
Well, TNA just made a big move to Pop TV, and we'll talk about the ramifications it's already had soon. What was your reaction to TNA moving to Pop TV, and at what point did you find out about something like that?
Well, I'm not in on any of the business thing right now, so I found out as the same time everybody else did. But I knew something was going on, because the way they were talking to me, the fact that they were so adamant about locking me into a contract. When I first went there, I was like, I'm not sure I want to do this, because they offered me a contract pretty much right away. And I didn't want one at first, because I wasn't sure if I would even enjoy this. And I was like, let's just see if this works. Because I had the first couple of days, I had some really good ideas. And I was like, this might be beginner's luck or something. I don't want to tie myself down and I end up sucking at this, and because that would suck for them too. But anyway, it started working out, and it worked out really well. And they asked, they were adamant about putting me in their contract, and I was just, oh man, this is really weird. If they're having all these reported, problems, they wouldn't be trying to lock me in. They have agents. It's not like they don't have any. And just certain little things I would pick up on, certain little comments here and there, nothing I can really repeat, but just something told me like they got something going on. There's something big coming up here. And with the announcement of Pop TV and Pop TV's partnerships with their affiliates is huge. I mean, it really can be something even bigger than it is. So it's definitely worked out well for us, and not to knock Destination America, but man, that channel was almost Destination Unknown, because like literally nobody I knew had it, as far as my personal friends. My dad didn't have it. My dad's the biggest wrestling fan in the world, and he was always, wanting to talk to me about things. And I think this was a better move for us, Obviously, it would
you don't have to knock. You don't have to knock Destination America. I will, because they played the hokey pokey with pro wrestling, and they put right foot in, right foot out, right foot in, right foot out. You never knew on any particular week how Destination America would feel about pro wrestling, and I thought that was weird. Pop seems to be in on it, at least so far, and we're only 2 weeks in, but it's a minor battle. The numbers still obviously aren't where you want them to be, but the ratings this week, as we're speaking, are the best they've been, I think, in 6 months for TNA, which is obviously a positive.
I'm just saying, and I came into TNA about 6 months ago, so I'm just robbing that out there. Use that information as you will. I will tell you this: the president of Pop TV came to our show, and I've been on a number of shows on a number of networks. And that's never happened before. Where the president
you talking about Brad Schwartz?
Yeah, where he shows up and talks to the guys. I've never had that happen before. So I thought that was a big deal. I thought it was a big deal for the guys, a big deal for the company, and a show, of unity from that Pop TV is really excited about this, I think we live in a day and age where if something isn't this magnificent hit right off the bat, that people try to, either jump ship or whatever. But man, if you look at some of the greatest shows ever, some of them didn't start off hot at all, So and I think actually, I think at TNA the second week, now we're really off and cooking, off and running. The first week we really had to finish the World Title Series, which was the biggest tournament in pro wrestling history that I know of, as far as number of individuals and the length of time it took to get that thing finished. That thing was an endeavor. And it kind of monopolized a lot of that first week. Probably 70% of the show was dedicated to finishing that tournament. So it's actually the second week, to me, is the, okay, now we can start cooking and getting into other gears and other situations and go in different directions with different characters and stuff. And this week I thought was better. And the next couple of weeks it get really good.
So that tournament, it was kind of polarizing. Like there were obviously there's some great wrestling there. A lot of people loved it, and then a lot of people thought that it was a lot to do to get back to where you were with EC3 and Matt Hardy. How did you feel about that? And did you know that the tournament was going to happen? Because it was very carefully crafted, from what I understand. From the people I've talked to, that tournament was like almost a work of art to craft that and make sure it went off without a hitch.
Not only that, but to do it in such a way that we had this tournament that was pre-taped, yet it's still more unpredictable and more surprising than WWE's live tournament. And I mean, and that's not you always, I hate the constantly comparison to WWE, but they did have a tournament that happened kind of at the same time, and it was one of the most predictable, boring wrestling tournaments in damn history. And that's not because of WWE. That's just because of what happened. That's just what it was. I thought the fact that TNA was able to do what they did and everything didn't get out as the way that people thought it was going to happen, I thought that was really well done. And and to be honest, they might have lucked into a couple of things. A couple of situations might have happened indirectly, but that's the art of pro wrestling. Man, I thought that thing turned out really well. I just wish we didn't have the amount of downtime. It seemed in between the quarterfinals
Yeah.
and the actual final happened. That took a little bit of the steam out of it for me, because I was just ready for it to be ready for that final match. The wrestling spoke for itself. I thought there was a tremendous amount of really great wrestling in there, and that's not TNA's problem at all. Not the actual in-ring performances. I think they got a lot of great talent there, but sometimes the presentation. I think that's where there can always be room for improvement, no matter what company you're talking about.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges about being an agent? Is it dealing with other people's egos? Or like what's the hardest thing?
That hasn't been too hard for me now so far, because there's not a lot of egos down there. I mean, there's so many great guys that I haven't really dealt with anybody just, I'm not going to do this and my character wouldn't do that, yada, yada. I mean, they're a really unified front down there in terms of when it comes time to, go to work and stuff like that. Judging by past, one of my things as an agent was I just didn't want to make the mistakes I'd seen other agents make. I've seen agents come to WWE that hadn't watched the product in years. And like that baffled the shit out of me. I was like, how did you just get hired yesterday? You know what I mean? Like if you had to know this opportunity was coming up, you didn't just go watch a bunch of stuff to make sure you know who people were. I had an agent ask me, was I a babyface? And I was wearing my Hurricane outfit.
Oh, no.
And I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Excuse me, I don't know if you can edit.
Oh, it's okay. You're all good.
I was like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And like, this was after The Rock and all of this, where I kind of made a pretty good name for myself. You don't know at least that I'm a babyface? I was like, man, get the fuck out of here. And there was a lot of, and that was somebody's friend, and that was doing a favor for this guy. The good old boy network still exists. And it's just, and I just didn't want to make none of those mistakes. And so, I think that one thing that helps me as an agent above some of the guys that I dealt with in the past is my career wasn't as one-dimensional as some of the agents I dealt with. I was a heel and I had success with that. I was a babyface and had success with that. I was just a wrestler and had success. And I was a gimmick character and had success. Most agents were kind of good at what they did. And when you're something else, going to them for help, they're going to have none for you. Steamboat's one of the greatest baby faces of all time. But if you're a heel in a match and you're asking Steamboat for advice, it's one of those, he wasn't a heel, you know what I'm saying? And that could be a little tricky. Yeah. And the polar opposite of Arn Anderson, who's one of the greatest wrestling minds I've dealt with. But Arn was a heel. So when I came to him as Hurricane and I got this cape and mask babyface, Arn might not necessarily have been the best agent for me at times. You understand? And that's not a knock. That's just situational, But when I was Gregory Helms, I wanted Arn as my agent every time, if you understand. And when I was Hurricane, I would want Steamboat. As Gregory Helms, not so much, So that's why I kind of benefit from my crazy career, that I've kind of done enough that there's not really going to be too many situations presented to me that I haven't been in myself. So that's where I can give advice and offer different viewpoints and different ways of looking at things.
So do the wrestlers in TNA, or did you in WWE, do you have any say in who's your agent for a match like that, like to maybe get some help from somebody who's better suited for the match?
I imagine like guys at the top of the card probably had a little bit more say than there were times when if this agent wasn't right for me, I would kind of sneak off and have somebody else, some stuff like that. And but it's not nothing you want to make a big deal out of, because you want to kind of, like, if you piss these agents off, Stephanie McMahon told me one time, she said, you have to win these agents over, because I was kind of have a difficulty dealing with agents that weren't over trying to tell me how to get over, because I still believe that if they knew how to get over, they would have got over themselves, And I know that makes me sound like a dick, but I believe that. So talking to Stephanie about it, and she's like, you got to win them over. So that become a battle. You have to win the agents over, because they're writing reports that go directly to Vince, and Vince is not at all the live events and all the house shows. All he's reading is these reports, and if he reads the reports and Hurricane's an asshole and you're having, whatever problems, then that could reflect negatively on you. So you kind of had to work the agents and then go work a match, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah. One thing I've always wondered, and I mean, it's something I've kind of seen with TNA. TNA is going kind of the different route. You see guys like Eric Young use a pile driver, which you never see in WWE. I think Jade use a package pile driver recently. You had one of the most famous or infamous moves of all time, one of the most devastating moves of all time in the Vertebreaker. And obviously you weren't allowed to use that at times in WWE. Who's the person that tells you can't use it anymore, and how did that go over with you? Because obviously the move was over big time.
Yeah, the move was over, but it wasn't that big of a deal to me because there were very few guys in the WWE I could even do it to. You know, especially as a Hurricane, all of my feuds were with big guys that I couldn't hardly pick up any damn way. So it wasn't a super loss. But that came from Vince himself. So I just said, okay, I didn't try to argue my point or anything. You know, Vince tells you to do something, you just kind of do it. And it wasn't and like I say, there wasn't but so many guys I could do it to anyway, you know, so I was like, it wasn't that big of a deal. To me, that wasn't something that I needed to go to Vince and have a debate with and fight for. It wasn't a loss to me.
So did he say it was just dangerous? He didn't feel comfortable with it? Because, I mean, you did have to have a very talented person to take that move.
Yeah, you had to have a talented person to give the move. There's a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of easy to take. You know, all you got to do is check your chin. It's going to be, I mean, it's like a German. You land like the impact of a German suplex, you know. The guy giving it actually takes some impact. I would take a lot of impact on the back, my upper back, which would actually cause problems in my lower back. If I did it a couple nights in a row, my lower back would be pretty jacked by the end of the loop. But that's because I was taking care of the guy. You know, I never drilled anybody. I know one time Kidman, Kaz Hayashi would stare at the mat and tuck his chin at the last second because Kaz was just masterful at that. And I think Kidman tried to do that one time and didn't tuck in time. And I can't really see what's going on back there. So if you don't tuck your chin, that shit's kind of on you, you know. And he kind of got pegged a little bit. I mean, he was still okay. You know, he was tough. Still got pegged a little bit. When I came back, somebody said, you know, one of the guys said something like, I killed him. And I was like, well, I had to see it back. You know, I mean, I do it the exact same damn way every time. So I need to see it back. But it is a dangerous move, you know. So, and too, at that time, WWE, there had been a string of neck surgeries. You know, Austin, Benoit, Lita. There'd been a string of them, and they were getting away from anything where you were landing on your head. Like even the German suplexes got really modified with guys. You wouldn't see nobody doing, you know, the Japanese style where you just drop the guy right on his head. That kind of got taken away from everybody. So it was something I knew was coming anyway, and I was prepared for it. You know, I ain't going to make a big deal out of that, man, especially because I was off and running as a Hurricane, so I didn't need that shit.
Yeah,
anymore.
Your merchandise was selling really well, and, I mean, it's widely known you were one of the top merchandise sellers in the company. How did you react when you were told something like that? Like, oh, yeah, you're up there with the guys like Rock and Steve Austin in terms of merchandise.
I actually, when I got my first big royalty check, I thought it was a mistake.
Did you tell anybody? That's the type of mistake you just don't tell anybody.
Man, that was all kind of shit was going through my mind. Like, I got like one or two before then, but they were just nothing, you know. They were the things like, I don't even know what the fuck they were for, because you know, WCW, we didn't have a lot of merchandise. You know, WCW missed a merchandising boat on a lot of people. And
then when you did, it would ring up for somebody else, from what I understand.
Yeah, that shit would say NWO. That was a saccharine chain. We get those checks. And so I got one, and this fucking thing is huge. I was just like, holy fuck. Like, I just thought it was a mistake. Like, do I tell somebody? Like, because if I go cash it and it's not mine, do I get in trouble? But it clearly has my name on it, you know, so it's mine. But I was just, there was some crazy thoughts that went through my head, so I went and cashed it. And then, like, for a couple of days, I mean, I cashed it, but I put it in the bank. But for a couple of days, I ain't buy shit, because I was like, they're going to call me. I don't want to go buy, you know, a damn Corvette or something. It's like, oh, yeah, we made a mistake. That was for somebody else. But, yeah, it was those checks were pretty nice.
Yeah,
I still get some nice ones from them from time to time.
Well, and that's always helpful. Do you see anything from the network? Because we talked to Ventura, who infamously sued the WWE over royalties, and he's like, "Nope, I don't, but I'm going to," and he's going to make sure of it. Do you not see anything from the network?
The only thing I got from the network is they paid me to do a couple of interviews, and I came and shot the interviews. But once it airs, we don't get anything for that. So that definitely hurts the boys, especially pay-per-view revenue is down because of the network. The DVD business is going to shits, because I can't even tell you the last time I bought a DVD.
Me either.
So if
I have
the
250 wrestling DVDs downstairs, and I can't remember the last time I bought one.
No, my woman bought me a Christmas present of a DVD that was a TV show that's on the PlayStation Network, and that was only because I wasn't going to buy another network just for this one show. But other than that, it might be a couple of years since I actually last bought a DVD. So the network is definitely, the boys aren't getting DVD money now. They're not getting pay-per-view money, and they're not getting network money. So it definitely hurts us. Hurts the talent that's there.
Now, this will, again, air after a big development here in a few weeks, and it'll lead to my next question. But you've made some appearances on TNA TV. Is there any chance of you getting in the ring for TNA? There's definitely chances, and it's weird because I'm definitely in a transitional period as far as where my career is at. I can go do when I go do an indie show, and if it's good, man, that fire is still there, and I still love being in that ring. But at the same time, when you're an agent and you're doing all these other things, it spreads you thin. And I don't want to spread myself too thin. I want to be able to concentrate fully on what I'm doing. But there's definitely an opportunity. And I want to, one of my goals in TNA, and one of the things they've asked me to specifically help out for, is to, rejuvenate the X division. And some of the things I've helped them implement so far are doing that. And if there's any way I can help, then definitely I would do that. And they need star power. And, I'm not trying to sound like I'm the biggest star in the business, but I definitely think I add to that division just by name alone. Now, the negative is that these kids are good. They are moving. They can move, and they're athletic as hell. And I'll be 42 this year. And I have to be cognizant of that because I'm very proud of, I'm a proud man, and I'm proud of what I do in the ring. And if I can't do it like I used to, then I'm not going to be in there, not, at least not too much. I want to be over there and be able to rock and roll. And if I can't, then we're going to have to change the station. You know what I mean? A great move that I thought TNA made, and again, this will run after this airs. You guys brought Trevor Lee in, who's another North Carolina guy, and from the results that I'm reading, you basically brought him in at least on television. That's like, people don't understand how good this guy is. What can you say about Trevor Lee? And he's kind of continuing that North Carolina tradition of you and the Hardy Boys and guys like that. I've known Trevor since he was probably 4 years old. His dad was a part of the original Omega crew back in the mid-'90s. He's somebody that, I've just gradually seen progress, and he works hard, man. He's in the gym all the time. We'll do a tour. We just did this last tour in Pennsylvania. We all flew home on Sunday. He went right to a training session. I had to go home and sit on my couch for 2 days. He's right back in the gym, right back in the ring. Incredible work ethic. He grew up on the hybrid style that Omega was. We're one of the front runners for that style. He grew up watching that, and he's really took it to, made it his own. He's going to be good, man. He's already good, but he's going to be even better. Andrew Everett's another guy. There's a lot of guys out there on the indies that I think are pretty close to being ready for TV, and I definitely want to try to help to get some of those guys in. I think that's the only way. Well, not the only way, but I think that's one of the ways to make the X division pop again, man. Let's get some new bodies in there, some new personnel, and that doesn't mean getting rid of anybody else at all. But we need more personnel in there to make that division shine. Yeah, I thought that the X Division took a hit. You know, they lost Samoa Joe, AJ Styles. Years ago, Lethal, Sabin, Shelley, Dutt. But Trevor Lee is a big step in the right direction. Man, that guy is just unbelievable.
You want me to tell you what hurt the X Division the most? And you agree?
What's that? You being an agent.
No, I'm saying what hurt it. what hurt it the most, not what hurt it the most. And this was before me. What hurt it the most was it got over.
Yeah.
You see, when that
it was the main reason I watched TNA.
When that style was fresh and nobody was really seeing it, that's what made it stand out. Well, see, now that X Division style is commonplace. I mean, if you look at Seth Rollins, that's X Division style every match, and he's main eventing on WWE. So it's not this niche new thing anymore. So what is it? You know, it's not just the X Division anymore because you can see that everywhere. The girl, I mean, you know, Mia Yim is doing X Division stuff. You know, Gail Kim is X Division. If you're looking at it like it's just a style, then that's what it is. It's so commonplace. It's not unique to just that division anymore. So by being so successful, it actually lost, you know, some of its mystique. Actually, I think it lost all of its mystique. So now that's why I'm saying, all right, well, we can't get that mystique back because that mystique's everywhere. You know, you can look at the whole PWG card. That's always division.
Oh, yeah.
So what we need to do is get new personnel to challenge each other more and more. You know, it isn't about just doing moonsaults anymore because everybody can do moonsaults now. You know, Manju's does moonsaults on his entrance, which I told him not to do, and he better not do them again. You know, when you get stuff like that, man, there's got to be new ways to spice it up, and I think that's personnel. I think we need guys that can grab that microphone and talk and deliver. We need guys that have charisma. It isn't just about moves anymore. You know, and it's about personality. It's about the total package. That division has to grow.
So, I mean, we say that about the X Division. Do you think that's a way that TNA can gain those viewers that they've lost along the way as well by just having people that challenge each other?
Without a doubt. You know, if you want to see new stuff, you got to provide them with new stuff. You know, I mean that's how it is. But it can't be one of these youth movements either because those have never worked. You know, in the history of the business, they always had these youth movements, and they ended up sucking. You know, you don't just turn on Seinfeld one day and there's 4 new people. Because then you're just watching Friends. You know, that's a different show. You're like, where's all the people I know at? So it has to be, you know, maybe you bring a couple guys in here and there and a couple guys in here and there, but you need your mainstay guys. You need your main stars that people identify with, and then get them new challenges. And if the new guys come in and the new guys get more over than the guys that are current, but then we're going to have to make an adjustment because that's how it's supposed to be.
Now, just a couple more, and I'll let you go. You're running Omega now. What's that been like? I mean, you brought the promotion back, and it seems like it's been a success so far.
It's stressing the hell out of me, man. I'm going to tell you. That, you know, Omega's it's a big company in terms of indies. You know, our average crowd is probably 800 to 1,000 people. We've had in excess of that. You know, 12 to 1,500 has been our highest. You know, but the amount of work that goes into an event of that magnitude, there's a ton of work that goes into it. So, like, the amount of respect I have now for Vince McMahon or Dixie Carter or even Eric Bischoff and Russo when they were doing WCW, man. Like the amount of respect I have for what they had to go through has went through the roof just because of what I went through running the indie show, because there's a lot that goes into it. The in-ring product is actually, the least of my worries, because my first rule of booking is don't use people that suck. That's my first rule. If you're not good, then you're not going to be on my show. So I shouldn't have to worry about that. And then what you do is, being a booker and a promoter is two entirely different things. I'm a much better booker than I am a promoter. Promoter's where that's my weakness right now. And that's where I got guys to come in and help me as far as, different advertising tactics and marketing tactics, stuff like that. That's where I need help, because that's never been my avenue. That's never been my world. But booking and writing a show and booking a show and helping talents develop and grow, that's why I excel at. So that's where we're comfortable at that part. But the marketing and advertising, that's always got to grow. That's always got to get bigger. We're actually I don't know when this show is going to air, but the last week in February or Friday, we're going to do a show in the Dorton Arena, which is in Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's where old school NWA used to go all the time.
Oh, nice.
And that's where I've been there so many times as a kid, and like I'm so giddy about doing this show, because being inside the ring for the first time, we're teaming up with a company called Big Time Wrestling, which they're a really great marketing company, and they do really good shows themselves. So Omega and Big Time's teaming up. We're going to run through this show in Raleigh at the Dorton Arena, and like me, Matt, Jeff, we're all like kind of giddy about it because we've all went there and sat in those stands. I chopped Nikita. One time he was walking to the ring, and I chopped the shit out of him because I thought I was cool. But his damn chest felt like steel, and it hurt. Like it literally hurt my hand. I mean, I was only like 12, But I got pictures of me in the Dorton Arena with bandanas tied around my legs for the Rock and Roll Express. So many memories there as a fan. It's going to be cool to go back there and be on the other side of that barrier.
And you've had the likes of, EC3, Matt Hardy, Cedric Alexander, Caprice Coleman, even C.W. Anderson on the show, Trevor Lee, as I mentioned, yourself. So a lot of familiar names and a lot of new names on those shows as well. So that's pretty cool. Tell the fans where they can follow you.
Yep, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was like, we've had some Ring of Honor talent too. One of the favorite matches I booked was the Hardys against the Briscoes. That was the Briscoes are probably one of my favorite tag teams going and have been for a couple of years. Fantastic. And
there's nobody like them.
Yeah, no, they are, and they're such a great, not just tag team, but they're a great, product. I would love to have them on our roster, and I know Ring of Honor needs to do everything they can to keep them. If I was Ring of Honor,
yeah.
I lock them up for life. They're fantastic. I can't say enough good things about how hard they work too. I actually bonused them after the match. Because they fulfilled their agreement as far as everything, and the money was all set. But we did really well in the house. And that's something we do in Omega too. We'll find somebody to bonus every show. And sometimes it's not nothing we really advertise too much. Because we know. Because the boys want all the money they can get. And I understand that. But as a promotion, you need to make money, and you need to be setting money aside, for future events and products, to help your production value go up, But we did bonus. We did have to bonus the Briscoes just for the performance that they gave, man. The guys are fantastic.
Tell the fans where they can follow you on social media and where they can get that sweet Shane Helms merchandise.
ShaneHelms.com is my website. And so I make it easy for everybody. Everything else is at ShaneHelms.com. Just take out the dot. The Twitter is ShaneHelms.com. Instagram is ShaneHelms.com. I'm on Tumblr right now, ShaneHelms.com. looking at some shit I shouldn't be looking at.
Oh, snap.
Tumblr, you got to be careful because you can be looking at some PG stuff, and in 1 second, it's the worst things of all time. And that's what
you're one click away on Tumblr.
Yeah, that's always when my woman walks by too. When it happens to be some orgy shit happening, I'm like, baby, I swear it was all Spider-Man before this. And she's like, yeah, she don't believe my ass. And maybe
you
that's
click one thing that says web shooting, and then the next thing you know,
you don't know what you're gonna get. It goes quick to the orgies, real quick. But I think that's pretty much it. I'm on Empower too. I'm having fun with that, but I gotta tweak it a little bit. But ShaneHelms.com is anything. That's what is everything. That's what I try to keep it easy for everybody.
Anything else you want to tell the fans? Obviously, TNA on Pop TV every Tuesday night.
Yeah, just that, and if there's any fans out there that you would disenfranchise with TNA in the past, I say forget about that because I wasn't there then. Give it a try now. I can't fix anything that was done in the past or any mistakes made. And, if you give it a chance now, because I think we got a lot of good stuff coming up. And I know there's fans out there that go, of course I got to say that. But actually, I don't got to say it. I ain't got to say shit. I ain't getting paid for this interview. But I do think it's a good product, man. I think it's really good, and I'm happy to be a part of it. Omega's great. I'm happy to be with that. I still love wrestling, I don't really care what letters come before it. Wrestling is the important part to me. So
Indeed. Well, I want to thank you for joining us. Obviously, guys, check out TNA on Pop TV Tuesday nights. Go to ShaneHelms.com. Follow Shane Helms on all the social media, even the Crazy Orgy social media. But thank you again for joining us.
Oh, thank you, man. Anytime.